Hey Elliot, how's it going?
Pretty good, Josh. How about you?
I'm doing pretty well. I had an idea to have a conversation with you on a topic that I struggle with because you've, in many of our conversations, have referred to this as Josh's therapy sessions. So we may as well continue that theme.
I don't know what you're talking about, Josh. I've never mentioned that before.
Yeah, so one of the things that maybe we had come up as a topic a little bit here and there over the years, and maybe it came up a little bit in our recent trip to Camp Fi was spending on convenience items. And I know this is an area that you and I may have different experiences with, and I think you have some positive experiences with. You and I have talked about them, and I have struggled with a lot because I tend to be a little bit more of a DIY kind of guy. And I think, came along on the FI journey after being in some pretty awful financial situations. So I just try to avoid spending on these types of items as much as I possibly can. So I thought what we could tackle in this conversation is what do we have no problem spending money on that makes our lives easier or better? What should we challenge ourselves to test? And what problems have we encountered with past convenience spending experiments along the way? And then, of course, any other questions or topics around this that we might want to cover.
Sounds great.
Yeah, so I'll just jump right in. I struggle with this. Like I said, I've very limited experience. There's one area in particular that I have utilized for the past several years that I've had really good results with, and this one is probably something that most people don't have a lot of experience with, and that is lawn feeding. So I do enjoy our yard, and I've had a lot of problems with weeds and just maintaining the overall aesthetics of the yard in the past. And I had a company come up years ago with a flyer like, hey, let us fertilize your lawn and all of that. And I did the rough math on it at the time, and I was like, oh wow, they'll do it for like $60 every 6 weeks. And the cost of it was significantly cheaper with higher quality product and all of that sort of thing than I was able to do myself. There's pros and cons with that because I know that fertilizer isn't necessarily a great thing for your lawns, but in my case, it was a trade-off I was willing to make, and it's been successful. That's a success story that I have, and that's where essentially the most of my experience, my good experience, that is, stops when it comes to spending on convenience. I have not been able to bring myself to hire anyone that will cut my grass or have even experimented with anything like that.
Yeah, to your point, I think this is some a spot where we differ a little bit. So yeah, I have had pretty good success on spending on certain experiments to make our lives easier, better, whatever way you want to spin that. But yeah, we do enlist a lawn care company or service, for our house. So much so that I don't even have a lawnmower anymore. I told you that the other day on a phone call.
Uh-huh.
Um, yeah, I mean, I love it personally. The fact that I don't have to think about my yard, I mean, the grass at all is fantastic. It's not something that ever filled my cup per se. So yeah, happy to pay that money to not think about it. And when it's sweltering hot in St. Louis and I see my neighbors out there pushing their lawnmowers, I do remind myself that I find that is money well spent.
This is definitely an area that I want to eventually test. I don't know that right now, like in the middle of the season, is the optimal time to sign a contract with someone, but it is something where, just like you said, it would be kind of, I wouldn't have to worry about it. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to like try to figure out where I'm going to fit it in or whether or not it's going to be what the temperature is going to be or what do I have something else going on or what I have to schedule it around, that kind of thing. It only takes me like maybe an hour and a half start to finish, but still so it's not a tremendous amount of time. And here's another, I guess, little side note to all of this mindset when it comes to spending on convenience is that I think to myself, I got the time to do it. I no longer have the full-time job, so why would you hire somebody else to do these things that, I've been doing for all of my life, and now I have more time available to do them.
Sure. And I will say, I mean, it's been brought up in our household of whether we would continue to use the service or not. So I'm not saying it's solved once and never will be reconsidered, but yeah, I mean, and certainly I know our good buddy Mr. Money Mustache put that in one of his old articles of, the kind of the double benefit of taking care of your own yard is like you're getting a workout while you're also taking care of your yard and saving on, obviously what I have as an expense. So there's many benefits in being DIY in that example, but one of our other friends, Carl and Mindy, I would say I think that they bring this topic up a fair amount across their different platforms is saying, yeah, like I know home cleaning is one that gets brought up. It's like, yeah, does this light you up cleaning your house? If not, and you have the money to spend on it, then spend away. And I know that that's something that we personally have tested in our house. I will say that I personally feel like we have some diminishing returns because I've got three little tornadoes in my house that may undo some of the work that was just done. But
Yeah, that's an area that I feel like I have posed the idea to Lori many times in the past. Like, let's just test this and see how it feels. Just a one time, or maybe just to give it a month or something like that, and see, does it really save us some time? Does it really feel like we have spent that amount of money frivolously? And just get a feel for it. And we haven't tested it yet. Same with the lawn care, though. I mean, the same can be said because as you were talking about how you don't even own a lawnmower now, like that introduces an additional layer of friction that if you were to go back to doing it yourself, now you got to incur the cost of the equipment associated with it. Whereas I have the equipment, but if I were to at a point where I needed to replace that equipment, that would be in my mind, that would be an ideal time to go, oh, okay, instead of spending $1,200 to get a new lawnmower and whatever other tools that I might need, I can get many, many years of grass cutting for that same cost. But I'm not at that point. I own the equipment, so it's like kind of a sunk cost type of thing. That's another like little
yeah,
part.
sunk cost fallacy. Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess the
Yeah.
same can be said for home cleaning. It's like we have the vacuum cleaner, the mop, the whatever other tools that a cleaning service would use. So does yeah, it's one of those areas where I know it takes probably more time than it would to hire a professional. But yeah, it's the trade-off that is really tough for us to swallow that cost. Like we're putting more of an emphasis on the the dollar than we are our time.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I would always come back and say, well, what's an hour of your time really worth to you? And try and frame it that way is, I think we pay something along the lines of $40 for our lawn to be mowed each time. And, would I, if I was to go give my time somewhere, is it $40 or more? And generally I would say more. So, not to say that there aren't other benefits like we already talked about, but, really if you have the luxury of being in a spot where you can afford that expense, then go do something more enjoyable than lawn care or home cleaning or insert random convenience expense.
Or do nothing. I think that's another thing that well, Lori and I both get hung up on. It's like, okay, well, if I'm not doing that thing, if I'm not spending these number of hours per week cleaning or taking care of maintaining the house, what am I going to do? I know we've asked ourselves that question before, and it's so stupid. It's a really dumb question because you could honestly do nothing and just enjoy your home as opposed to continuously work on it.
Yeah, it's great. I'm waiting for that time where that ever comes up. Although, frankly, I probably do more of nothing than I should at times. But yes, it is. I mean, that's the whole reason why we're trying to go to FI is to work and do spend time however you would like to spend your time. So I didn't work for nearly 20 years just to mow my own grass necessarily. It is, finding more fruitful ways to spend my time.
Another area that I would say that, and this is pretty trivial, but and most people would spend money for this, but maybe not so many people, especially men in the FI community, is on haircuts. So throughout the majority of my childhood and early adult life, I always went and got my hair cut somewhere, generally like the cheapest place, and found the coupons and that sort of thing. And then again, going back to Mr. Money Mustache, I remember there was an early articles about frugality and cutting your own hair and all of that sort of thing. And I already had a pair of like those clippers. So I started cutting my own hair for several years. I don't even remember how many. And I never did a great job. There was often times where I'd be like, I'd cut it too short or too high or whatever. And a couple days would go by and I'm like, oh shoot, I missed this spot over here. Kind of pop up. And I've gone back to my cousin cuts hair kind of on the side. So I go to her and it's great experience. She washes my hair afterwards and all of that. And it's nice to spend time with her and be able to talk to her. I mean, that's a minor a minor convenience, if you will. But so I've had the experience of doing it myself and it didn't go. Plus, the cleanup was just absolutely ridiculous and the time consuming because I tried telling myself, "Oh, I'm avoiding the time to drive back and forth to the place to get my haircut, and I'm avoiding the cost." And but really, it was I had all this cleanup that I had to do, and inevitably Lori would be like, "Ah, you left a mess in the bathroom," and she's aggravated with me because I didn't get every last hair up that I got all over the sink and the floor. But that's an area now that I have no problem spending the money every and my cousin can set me up on a schedule every 3 weeks. I'm getting my hair cut, so it's really nice to be able to do. So that's another example where I spend on convenience.
Nice. Yeah, I waver on hair cutting, so it's sometimes I will go to a barber and sometimes Don will cut my hair.
Hmm.
So since I don't know if we were doing that pre-COVID or not, but yeah, same sort of thing. It's got pros and cons. So
Hmm.
I would say one that we certainly exercise quite a bit is going out to eat. Now, this is going to be contentious. We definitely spend more more than our fair share on going out to eat. And but I think we try and give ourselves some grace just knowing that our children are at the ages that they are. It's not always, there is no night where we make one meal at home. It is always at minimum two. We have one child that just doesn't isn't real adventurous in their eating right now. So it is always a separate plate for them. And the other two generally will eat what we eat. But sometimes that's not true either. And so then we're into three different meal categories. So sometimes going out to eat that need. And so, you know, I'm not too proud to admit that I've gone to McDonald's, I've gone to Culver's. We have our local Mexican restaurant. Definitely is one where everybody can find something that they like. So, if we spend a little bit more, then so be it.
That topic didn't even enter my my thought process for this topic, but it's certainly something that we have no shortage of spending on at all is going out to dinner, even breakfast. Yesterday we went out for breakfast. It was a fantastic experience. We had I had omelet, we had shared biscuits and gravy, we had pancake, we had everything, and it was relatively inexpensive in the grand scheme of things when it comes to breakfast food. Normally you can get pretty affordable in my opinion. But yeah, I hadn't even considered that as being a convenience item, but you're right, it should be. It's definitely in that category and definitely an area that we definitely spend more on than probably if you go back to like the frugal idea of chasing fi, it was avoid spending on going out to dinner and that kind of thing because it's very expensive.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not getting any cheaper as prices are these days. But yeah, it's certainly something that I would call a convenience expense. Yeah, and I kind of loop this in with that same category as just going out to things like breweries or certain entertainment items. I view this as it's meeting multiple needs. Like that same concept, like Mr. Money Mustache would say about your lawn mowing, yeah, I can go buy a 4 pack or a 6 pack of beer and invite people to my house and have the same community building experience, or I can go out to a brewery and meet 30 other people that are, in our local community. And I don't have to coordinate like, hey, everybody has to bring their own beverage or I'm going to supply everything and I got to cater to everybody, like know what everybody kind of drinks and or or doesn't drink, like that's fine. So, sure, like we pay a premium to go out and have an experience like that, but I view that as hey, that's a price of admission to have doing those community building exercises. So um, that is somewhere where I feel like I have personally no problem spending money because I view that making my life better. Just like we talked about before, is community is one of those key pillars of happiness.
Yeah, that's true. And that's a really good point. Another one, you're getting some really good examples here of things that I hadn't even thought about as that's is a cost that there's convenience associated with that. And although your point there about how you could invite a small group to your house and have of them bring a variety of beers does sound kind of fun to me. Like if we said, "Hey, bring your favorite 6 pack or whatever it might be," and then shared them across the group to try to experiment with different beverages, that could be pretty fun.
Yes. Always good ideas too. I'm not opposed by any means. And yeah, good things to try.
The last one here on my list of things that I have, I guess, experience with is a tax preparer. This is probably going to break the heart of our good friend Alan and our local group here, but for many, many years, I have paid to have a preparer do my taxes just to partly for convenience because they can just fly through it in a matter of minutes as opposed to me taking like hours. But I still have to gather all the information and make sure that I have all of that and be somewhat prepared for the questions that they're going to ask me. But it's also like I guess, a little bit of a confidence that they're looking at things and entering things in the right boxes and just a more experienced set of eyes. So from a FI perspective, and I wonder how many people in the community or what the percentage of people are in the community that do it themselves versus have someone else do it. It's something that in recent years I've thought more about trying to do I shouldn't even say trying, but just doing myself. And I might be able to optimize some things or look at things from the perspective of learning and digging a little deeper as opposed to just going, here's all my documents, plug it all in, and then they tell me here's what you owe or here's what your return is. So, but I think it's been at least 10 years now since we started purchasing real estate that we've been having a CPA do our taxes.
Yeah. Well, first I'm going to revoke your FI card. That's not allowed. But no, all kidding aside, I mean, obviously with having multiple real estate holdings, that makes your tax preparation more difficult. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know that that'll break Alan's heart by any means, but yeah, I mean, I'm somebody that I I do all of our own taxes. I've never used a preparer. I think actually gathering the documents and having to ask the questions, I mean, like answer the questions is like that's the hardest part of ever doing your taxes. So you're already doing the hard part.
Yeah, I'm
Just
75% of the way there
yeah,
probably.
yeah, data entry is not too difficult. But yeah, I mean, getting some sort of reassurance that whether the CPA is giving you some other benefit that, yeah, hey, like I wouldn't have known to take this sort of write off or deduction or anything else like that. Um, if you're seeing value there, I think that's completely fine to spend on.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for your permission.
Yeah, yeah. Since I know you were looking for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, before I move on to the areas where I probably need to test, is there any other examples that you have that you've had good results from spending on convenience?
I'm trying to think if there's any others beyond the ones that we have talked about already. Nothing immediately comes to mind.
Okay. One area that I still struggle with, I know you and I have talked about, you've probably teased me a little bit, is just getting some help with my real estate. Everything is do it ourselves. Lori and I do the majority of the property management, the tenant communications, the repairs and maintenance and rehab. And she does a lot of the bookkeeping, but also helps with the tenant turnover situations and some of the maintenance, or I should say, some of the repairs. But we've had some experience with hiring people in the past. Now, for big jobs, I definitely have hired those out. So when it's plumbing, a little bit of electrical in the past, although I'm doing some of that myself now just because I want to. But I have had some bad experiences with trying to hire that out as well, where contractors don't show up, they drag their feet, they don't do what they say they're going to do, they will give you a quote and then come up, it turns into multiples of hundreds of dollars later that there's added expense. I mean, just so many bad experiences. I've had good experiences too, but I think that has caused me to just like do it myself because if I want the job done right or if I want it to have a level of confidence that it has been done right, I just do it myself. And I know that's not a good mindset, and it certainly might be saving me. I mean, it's negotiable whether or not it's even saving me any money because like this property that I'm working on right now, as an example, if I would have hired it out and spent whatever, $20,000 on getting the things done by a professional that I wanted to have done, I would have had it rented by now. But I'm still several months from getting it rented, and some of it is things that I enjoy doing and wanted to do myself, but we've she and I have talked many times about just trying to get somebody to assist me even. And I haven't brought myself to be able to do that yet, but it's something that I I really would like to test more, especially as I'm getting older and there's things that I don't want to be doing, like getting up on ladders. And I mean, there's a lot of things that I really that are dangerous. And I've had some close calls. So it'd be good to hire someone out to do that and then just start building relationships on with people that I can call on when something goes bad so that I'm not getting disrupted with a maintenance issue or whatever on a weekend or in the middle of the week when I'm planning to do something else.
That's right. You're already sitting here trying to plan my post retirement job, huh, Josh?
That's right. Yeah, you're available, right, Elliot? And you're closer too.
Uh-huh. That's true. Yeah. No, I certainly have ribbed you once or twice on this topic, so I won't beat a dead horse. But no, I think that would be very beneficial for you guys.
Another one that I have has been in the back of my mind for many years now is those meal prep companies. like Factor. I don't know. There's so many of them. Speaking of which, today's episode is sponsored by. I don't enjoy cooking. It's one area that I have definitely tried to make an attempt at enjoying and just I don't know what it is, like grilling or even just like putting a recipe together is like I don't really know how to describe it. It's just not something that fulfills me, that lights me up. And I know there's a lot of those simple solutions out there where you can just like order this box and it's shipped to you and it has all the ingredients. You just throw them all together, you do what you need to do. It takes 5 or 10 minutes and it's supposedly a healthy, nutritious, and tastes good meal alternative. Plus, when you're just cooking for two people, it's maybe a little bit easier to put something like that together and you're not going to have as many leftovers that you're eventually going to perhaps throw out or whatever. There's cost associated with it for sure, but I'm considering testing something like that just to see how the quality is and whether or not it's easier to put something like that together and less of a burden from my point of view when it comes to putting together a meal.
Yeah. So we have tried that before, not for any extended period of time, but like a Blue Apron or something else like that. Yeah, I mean, I think there's certainly value there. Another thing that I struggle with whether or not I would really want to test is like grocery delivery service. I know that Brad from Choose Fi has been a pretty strong proponent of this as of late and that he's had good experiences. I know that what I struggle with a bit is I feel like sometimes you don't always get great items that whoever picked them for you. So that type A control personality trait of mine comes out and it's like I would never have picked this. As far as cooking, I mean that is something that I really after the surgery that I had last year, I told myself that I wanted to really make that a priority for myself. That I've said that I don't cook enough, and that I wanted to really be I probably am the primary cook in our house these days, and so Dawn has challenged me to grill once a week, and so yeah, like trying different things on the grill. I had a favorite recipe of Dawn's last night, and so she's like, "Oh yeah, can we have pasta carbonara?" Like it, everybody except for one of my children really enjoys it. So I mean, I think it's been a great way to build a skill, but yeah, that maybe that additional thing to test is I really detest like the act of meal planning and grocery shopping that comes with it. It's just all of a very time consuming activity, and understanding like what are we actually going to eat for the week is a time consuming process. So maybe that's something that I think that maybe we should try some more.
Yeah, I'd like to know what your results would be with that. I think that we tried that in the past. Maybe it was around COVID. I don't remember, but in our house, Lori does all the meal planning and the grocery shopping. And it's something that she says she really enjoys doing. Well, the grocery shopping piece of it, at least. She doesn't love the meal planning because she's trying to try different things all the time. But we did do the online shopping, and I don't think we went so far as delivery, but it was like pickup. You just go and have them brought out to your cart or whatever. And she didn't like the results of that back then. But we have some friends that they swear by it. That's all they do. They're like, "Oh yeah, it saves us so much time, and we don't ever have to worry about it." They just show up at our house, and we're done with it. And I I would imagine that there's other benefits associated too with like if you're doing that online, you're less susceptible to picking up random items when you're in the store as well.
Yeah, I'm pretty good about being pretty militant to a list, but yeah, every once in a while there will be deviations. So yes, I could see that benefit as well.
Yeah. There's one on here that needs to be done to our house like sooner rather than later, and I keep dragging my feet on it, and that's washing our siding. I've done it for years. I don't know why it gets so darn dirty, and maybe it's just the color that it is, but it shows a lot of dirt and stains and even some mildew on the north side. And I have this special extension for my pressure washer that can get to the second story without me needing to get on a ladder, which works fine, but it's such a time consuming, dirty, wet job. And there's signs literally all over our subdivision, all over town for house washing, siding washing, that kind of thing. And I bet they charge maybe like, I don't even know, maybe like $200 or something. I bet it's pretty inexpensive in the grand scheme of things. And I should just test it and just be done with it. And if I don't like the results, of course, I don't have to go back to that company, or I can do it myself or whatever. But it's one of those areas that when it comes to valuing my time, which it probably takes me a good day to do it, and a crew could probably knock it out in a very short amount of time.
Yeah, that's definitely one that I personally have never washed my siding on my house, and I've been in here for a decade now, so yeah, probably long overdue, but maybe that's a good experiment to try out. Although I also have the equipment to do it theoretically. I can't imagine it being that hard, but yes. Yeah. Do I want to spend $200 to alleviate the job? Yeah, that sounds like a like a reasonable experiment.
Yeah. So you have any experiences that have gone bad with trying to spend on convenience?
I would say, I mean, like I brought up the house cleaning before. I mean, I wouldn't call that bad. Like, obviously, it is the cleaning that's done, it's doing a deeper cleaning than what we would just do on a day in, day out basis. So, even though the house could be a wreck, no less than an hour after we have a cleaning, it doesn't negate the work that was done. But in my mind, that's certainly where I struggle a little bit. But that's just more parenting that I think we're working through, is working on cleaning up after ourselves and things like that. But how about yourself?
One area that I have had some negative experiences with was on just basic maintenance on our cars. In the past, like an oil change, I remember one time going to one of I think it was Jiffy Lube. I'll just go ahead and call them out right here. They will do your oil change, and then they'll look at your filters and things like that and see if you need a replacement. And they always recommend a replacement. And it's usually like the cost of the filter is typically, if you go to buy one from an auto parts store, it's like $15, but they'll charge you like $45 for that. They were changing the oil, and they came around and showed me the air filter, and they're like, "Hey, I think you need to get this replaced too." And I'm like, "No, that's okay. I'll just take care of that myself." And they put it back in, and I don't know, a week or so goes by, and I'm like, "I'm gonna go ahead and change that." And I opened up the area, and the air filter was like crumbled up and smashed down inside of the box as opposed to being put back in. I was so angry. I did take it back and was like, "This is ridiculous. This happened from you guys," and I think I got like a free oil change or something out of it, or whatever. They compensated it in some way, but that was like, if they're doing that, like what else are they doing, or skimping on or skipping or whatever? So it kind of left a bad taste in my mouth, and I started doing a lot of that just preventative maintenance on my own. And I had a couple other examples of things that just didn't go well with mechanics. That's one of those areas that you typically, in my experience, I've shopped around for, had bad experiences, and then found a good one, had good experiences, and then they either closed their shop or moved on, consolidated with other shops, whatever. And it's just kind of hit or miss, and just in my experience.
Yeah, I mean, certainly you can be dealing with unsavory characters in any business, but yeah, that's certainly one that I hadn't really thought about before, but yeah, that's certainly a area where I do spend on convenience for that, is that, and I've done both ways. I've changed my own oil and filter many a time. Anything beyond that, though, I'm pretty much going to a mechanic, where I'm calling up my good buddy Josh.
So yeah, I guess to kind of, as we start to wrap up here, there's things that I want to experiment with. And I'm trying to change my mindset around the like kind of negative connotation when it comes to spending on convenience, and just to look at some other opportunities. I did a quick Google search. I just said, give me examples of spending on convenience. And it was interesting to me that it all came back with sort of a negative stigma associated with it. All of the examples that they gave were like some of the items that we just talked about: prepared foods, delivery apps and services, home services, but they all linked to articles that were like the true cost of convenience spending and things like what you're really giving up, why convenience spending becomes a monthly trap. That was an interesting headline. And that was a recent article. So a lot of these things are kind of have a negative stigma associated with them, that whenever you are spending on convenience, you're ultimately wasting money. And that's been my mindset for a long time. And it's something that I'm willing to experiment more with to really see if it feels like a waste of money or it frees up that time.
Yeah. I mean, it's certainly, how I think it's the problem that many people within the FI community have been trying to solve a little bit more, is flexing that spending muscle, right? Is how that mind shift change has to occur from when you're going from accumulation to drawdown. Is like, yeah, hey, like the whole reason that you saved all this money is so that you can ultimately spend it. And
What?
so yeah, I know, preposterous, right? Like, and this was another takeaway from Camp Five. Was, I know in that same session that we talked about as far as drawdown, is they drew a line up on the board to say, yeah, how much your expenses kind of look like over the course of your lifetime, and really zooming out and looking at that and understanding, like, yeah, you're going to go through phases of higher expenses and lower expenses as your life kind of continues, but spending in, spending down your principal should be part of what you're trying to do. Is, we talk about the book Die with Zero quite a bit, I think, as a community. And I think a lot of people like the idea of, yeah, that sounds great, is that I want to spend the money that I actually earned. But I think if you were to actually have some sort of results of how frequently that actually occurs, I think a lot of people are going to end up with a lot more money, or about the same amount of money as they did when they retired, by the time that they pass.
Yeah, that's one of Bill Perkins. I think he's mentioned that he struggles with one of the concepts of the FI community is that we're focused on only spending the interest and maybe even just a percentage of the interest, as opposed to, he always says, what about the principal?
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, I just got done reading Bill Bengen's latest book, and yeah, just even seeing the what he calls the safe max rate, really your personal safe withdrawal rate, and how much that really changes. Like, I mean, everybody likes to hear the 4% rule, right? But as much, I mean, we definitely heard that time and time again over Camp Five. Was, yeah, like that's just the beginning of the conversation, really. And how much in drawdown it really just, everybody adapts. Like, everybody that is currently doing this, has been doing this for a number of years, is that it's always a constantly moving target. And to to that point, like, some people have underspent initially to kind of, make it even more conservative, but ultimately, yeah, if you're not spending enough, then it's going to go back to the hogs.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's really common sense when you think about it, as far as the drawdown strategy when it comes to what your spending comfort level could be based on market returns, how your portfolio is performing, and your lifestyle. It's not going to be a set 4% for the rest of your life. There's going to be a lot of lumpiness there.
Absolutely.
But I'm willing to challenge myself to try to at least experiment with a couple of these items, and hopefully in future conversations we can come back and talk about what the results have been.
Yeah, absolutely. I think maybe if I could have you pick out one that you think is most important that you really would like to test and would have the most impact on your happiness, what would it be?
I'm going to choose the help with real estate because I know I need to get this property re-rented and I have some travel coming up in October and I'd like to get it finished before then. So that's an area where it could certainly free up a lot of my time.
Good answer.
How about you? Do you have any that you are thinking about testing?
I know that Dawn has certainly asked about house cleaning again, and I think I've been most resistant to it, and I don't know why. So, happy wife, happy life, right? So, I think that is probably the one that I would be most apt to go test. But yeah, I mean, I think the other one, the as our conversation has evolved here, I think to your point, somebody doing the grocery shopping and just either picking it up or whatever, I think I might do some research
Hmm.
on that one.
Cool. Well, let's put a pin in this conversation and try to come back to it with our results. And what do you think? Maybe a month?
Sure.
All right,
Yeah.
cool. I'll make a note.
Sounds good. Anything else before we wrap?
I don't think so.
It was great as always, Josh.
Yep, absolutely.
Till the next.
Yep. See you, Elliot.